So it's December 1st, and Captain John, Captain Rob here. We're going to do another fishing report for you. So, kind of talk about the things that we've seen for the month of November and things that we hope to or expect to see for the month of December. Overall, November, super busy.
Yeah, November was fun.
But it was a very fun month.
A lot of really good fishing. Overall, as I've said a lot, winter's coming. I think it's here now.
Yeah. As you can tell,
although
we both had
the water was
on.
still 60 degrees yesterday.
Yeah, I saw 58 this evening, but it was around low 60s most of the places.
Yeah,
I
unfortunately didn't make it out today, but yeah, still the water temperatures are still kind of up there.
Yeah.
But it's dropping.
Yeah.
The cold is definitely here. We have a stretch of a week or so where it's going to be cold, so the water temps are going to be dropping. Mm-hmm. But November, early on, well into November, we had flood tides.
We did, yeah. We were fishing flood tides, what was that, a week and a half ago?
That's true.
The last king tide cycle that came through. Yeah. We were still flood tide fishing, finding tailors.
Catching fish.
Yeah.
That was fun. I think it's safe to say that we're pretty much done booking flood tides until April-ish time frame now.
Yeah.
But generally, that was early on in November when we got that first cold snap, or late October when we got the first cold snap. I thought the floods would wrap up a lot quicker.
Yeah.
And then they really did. They carried right on.
It just warmed up really quickly after that.
And it wouldn't surprise me if there's still some fish tailing. Like there's a flood tide tomorrow morning.
Right.
Which we might make it out for. But it wouldn't surprise me if they're still out there tailing. It's just definitely slowing down now.
For sure.
For the winter season.
Not as consistent. You don't get as many shots.
Exactly.
The crabs just aren't there.
Yes. Take advantage of the shots. When you get a shot, make sure you take advantage of it because you're not going to see a whole bunch of fish, most likely, right now. I remember distinctly December 5th, a couple of years back, getting an awesome flood tide.
Yeah.
Things happen. Crazy things happen.
Yeah. But I'd say overall, flood tides were good. Have started to slow down.
Up, yeah.
But the rest of the tide cycle has been fishing
really well.
Excellent.
And not just the redfish. We've got a lot of flounder on the fly. Yeah. Not intentionally. We're just casting it, a lot of times casting at redfish. And next thing is like hook up like, oh, that's not pulling like a redfish.
Fighting weird.
And a lot of flounder on the fly. Good number of sea trout showing up.
Yeah.
I did a trip, went back out, played around a little bit, and caught a 21 or 20 and a half inch sea trout the other day that was just thick.
Just fat
fish. And he actually pulled like a redfish.
Yeah.
For a bit, I thought I had a redfish.
But speaking of other species, you also...
Dude, I finally did it.
Yeah.
Right at the beginning of November, we were up on a flood tide flat, and I'm looking for redfish, and there were a bunch of sheephead around us. Mm-hmm. And so I'm like, hey, feel free to cast at the sheephead. But sheep's head are just so, you cannot get them to eat.
Yeah, and even when you do, hook the
hook. Yeah, and I've had some eat before, really and they just pop off. And so I've gone years and years trying to get a sheep to eat the fly. And so my guy makes a great cast on the sheep. Bump, bump, bump. Sheep eats it just like a redfish. Boom, we get this real nice sheep. I was like, what?
That's pretty sick.
It was that easy. It was awesome. It was a really good sheep, too.
I
should have taped it, but it was like a big sheephead.
Yeah.
So that was awesome. And then he was back out with me a couple days after that, same guy.
Yeah.
And sheep wouldn't eat.
Yeah.
It's just like that's typical sheep.
Yeah.
Oh, I hate them. But you also got something.
I got
like
the black drum.
It's a black drum, yeah.
Yeah, I had a really cool eat on a black drum.
It's been a while since I've had a black drum eat a fly.
Yeah, there's a couple flats I have that they'll have the black drum up there.
Well, you were telling me about that you were getting into seeing a bunch of black drum on that one flat. That's pretty awesome.
So went out there and got one, and it was a super cool eat. He just smoked it. He was just so fired up.
Love it.
But yeah, that was pretty cool. So it's been I think November for me is just about the variety,
The
right?
variety,
The behaviors,
typically
the different
very
parts of
happy
the tide
fish.
cycle.
Yes. Yeah,
Happy
just a
fish
wide range
across
of
the
happy
board.
fish. Like generally, I mean, there were a few days that were slow, but
Right.
that's is what it is. But overall, lots of happy fish, and that's gonna really carry into December.
Yeah.
Even with the temps dropping, my guy yesterday was very concerned. Like, hey, it's getting cold out.
Yeah.
Is the fishing gonna be good? I'm like, yes, trust me. And we had a great time out there. I mean,
Yeah.
fish popping shrimp, like just these fish they know they better eat now.
Yeah.
And well into December, it's going to be good. And we're not going to, January, February, we're still going to be out there fishing. There's great fishing to be had when it's cold. They're not like bass where you get a cold front and they shut down. If anything, I think it gets them fired up most of the time. More often than not, I see the fish get fired up when a cold front comes through as opposed to shutting down.
Especially this time of year.
Especially this time of year. It's almost like it's a trigger.
Yeah.
Like, you better eat now.
Well, because once winter fully hits, like all of the bait and stuff,
Virtually gone,
is
yeah.
gone, and so
Yeah.
there's just not as much food source. And so when those cold fronts hit, then it kind of triggers the fish of like, I
Yeah.
need to eat now before I have to work harder to get less food here in a month or so.
Oh.
So
We were gonna talk about what fly we've been using.
yeah,
The razzmatazz has been my go-to. I think you were saying the razzmatazz. We were both like, oh, we can both talk about the different flies that we've been using. And I was like, well, I've been using the
mostly, yeah,
razzmatazz. What have you been using? You're like,
razzmatazz.
fishing the razzmatazz.
I mean, it's
Yeah, throw
great.
up a picture.
It's a local pattern type of.
Well,
razz
they're
reed.
chasing shrimp.
Yeah.
And you drop something in there that's got some flash to it, but it's kind of shrimpy colored. Pop it like a shrimp, and I mean, it's not rocket science.
Right. I also have, on occasion, fished some gurglers this month.
I think you've done a little more of that than me. I've kind of
Yeah.
stayed more. Yeah, I've stayed in the lane a little bit.
I did also have one morning that we were spin fishing. We threw topwater plugs.
Yeah.
It was real overcast, kind of chilly. Caught a bunch of trout, a couple
Gotta love
redfish
it.
on plugs.
Anything
and that
on
was
top is awesome.
awesome. That was a great morning.
Yeah, the razzmatazz. I've used black and purple. I've used electric chicken, but the razzmatazz just right now with what I'm seeing with the fish, popping those, literally chasing the shrimp, and you're trying to get the fly right there. Razzmatazz.
I typically won't fish the gurgler unless they're really fired up on the shrimp. If they're
There's
really fired up on the shrimp, then it's worth throwing. Otherwise, I'll still fish the razzmatazz. But I think our water, as it gets colder, our water starts to clear up. Our water's a lot clearer than it was. And so this is when I kind of start switching to those more natural colored flies. Not as flashy. You don't need something dark because the water's not as murky.
Yes.
And I think that's what the razzmatazz is great for. So
It's a really good fly this time. A good fly year round here in the Low Country, but I go to it especially now as the water's cleaning up.
for sure.
I think a lot of people do. It's a common fly. We're not giving away any crazy secret there.
Right.
The razzmatazz is a great Low Country fly. Only other thing I can think about was camping, getting to have some fun with Scotty from Wildfly.
Yeah, that was a super fun trip.
Thomas and those guys this past month actually went out and did some camping and just it was fun to take a couple days just to like relax fishing, but also just kind of relax. Camping out was great, firing up the grill and just sleeping on a friend's island out there in the Ace Basin. Just pretty wild place to just take some time, chill around a campfire. That was fun.
That was a lot of fun.
Kind of highlight of my month.
Yeah.
The super happy fired up fish and camping.
Yeah.
And the sheephead. Sheep's head.
We even got into some tailors when he was in town.
Well, that was the last flood tide that
Yeah.
I told, like, that was probably the last flood I expect to see, like, fish really tailing on this year.
And then we went
that
out
one.
a couple days later with Scotty, and it was freezing cold, blowing 20 miles an hour, and the fishing was on fire.
That was one of the best days. Junior was with me. You and Scotty were killing them, and Junior and I were literally just like, let's just film.
Yeah.
He has some great footage. I'll probably never see it, but he's got some great footage. He got some sick shots of fish just killing shrimp. It was crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then I think, so looking into next month for the month of December, water's going to keep clearing up. They're still going to be feeding on shrimp. I think we're just going to see more of a continuation of what we saw towards the end of this month.
Yes.
Because I think that outside of the flood tides, the fishing has gotten progressively better.
Yes.
On the lower,
It's slowed down on the floods,
tide
picked up on the
cycles.
lower stuff.
Right.
And not just the low tide, like
just
the
lower
lower water,
than
yeah.
a flood.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. And I expect that to be the same case for December as well.
Absolutely.
Still seeing popping shrimp pushing around. We started seeing them start to school up a little bit.
There's
there's
definitely
some
schools out there. There's definitely schools out there right now.
And I think we'll keep seeing that. Keep seeing happy fish. The fish are fat right now. Like,
So fat.
they've all been eating so much
So
that
fat.
all of them that you catch with that water cooling down, more oxygen, lots of food, they're all fat, fired up. They fight hard.
Yeah.
It's a great time to fish the low country.
Yes.
It may be a little chilly, but if you dress properly, the fishing can be awesome.
It's great. I mean, it's some of the best fishing of the year right now,
Yeah,
for sure.
I would agree.
Well, till next time.
Yeah, so I think we have a few openings this
a
month
couple.
in our
I have a
schedule.
couple. I know you got a couple.
I have a few,
yeah.
kind of before the holidays.
I think the one that comes to mind, day before Christmas Eve, I've got open.
Okay.
So.
But yeah, so we would love to get you out there. I think the fishing's going to continue to be really good overall. And should be a good month coming up.
Let's do it.